Everybody, what's going on? Fabian for Liberty, fabianforliberty.com. New podcast today, cover a lot of different things, including something that I experienced this weekend that was just really amazing. So I share that, also talk about the tensions rising among Ukraine and the Russians, as well as is the big one coming to California, of course, on the heels of this big 6.1 earthquake, I believe it was, or 6.0 earthquake that hit Napa Valley, San Francisco area. Talk about all those things, but it's today on the podcast. The link is down below. Now, I wanted to take time, and I talked about this on the podcast. By the way, we just announced dates for in London in the UK. I'll be there this coming January 2015. If you're interested, email us down at the link below. We'll be talking about actually releasing the solid date. It's going to be like mid-January, but I'll be there doing my virtual real estate investing course. I'm taking it on the road, and I've had a lot of people from the UK email say they wanted me to come there, so I've decided that I'm going for it this January 2015. Now, why do people give up? Why do people quit? And sometimes, is quitting actually a good thing? Because for me, it actually was a good thing. And in fact, believe it or not, I talk about quitting often when it comes to the job paradigm. You know, sometimes quitting is really difficult because we are grown up in a society where basically it's like, oh, never quit no matter what. Hard work is always really, really good, and that's what you should do. So you get a lot of people that, you know, are in their late teens, early 20s. They start out with all these great ideas, how they want to change the world, or they have this great, brilliant idea that they want to roll out. But society programs them, and this is, in my opinion, intentionally, programs them to fit in a box, to be like everybody else, that by the time that person maybe reaches their early 30s or maybe their 40s, they've pretty much given up on those big ideas. They've quit on their passion, and they've fallen into the I must do this for safety, for, you know, I don't want to be risk, I'm fearful. And, you know, I could tell you for me in my life, and then I want to get into why people don't quit. But why people quit, or why quitting's good. I mean, for me, I was told by my parents my whole life growing up, you want to get a job. You know, you want to work for somebody else, basically. And they didn't say it like that, but in essence, that's what they were telling me. Go work for somebody else and get a career. I just wasn't good at that. And it could be that, you know, I'm just kind of all over the place, and, you know, I'm riddled with ADD, and I'm not good at working. I'm just not a good, you know, nobody really will want to hire me to begin with, let alone am I a good employee. But outside of that, that model didn't work for me. And I thank God that I knew that and recognized that early on. And so I quit on the notion of going to work for somebody else. And if you're going to quit, that's the type of quitting that I think that people can do. On the flip side of that, most people quit really early on in things. You know, again, because of the programming that we've had in life, a lot of people at the first sign of resistance, they'll give up. And a lot of that actually has to do, science has shown this, that a lot of that actually has to do with that reptilian part of our brain. And no, I don't think that we're reptilians, or that, you know, I'm a reptilian because maybe every time I talk, I might do that with my tongue. But the point is that that reptilian part of the brain, and some of you on the comments can name it, I forgot the name of it, that real primitive part of our brain that deals with basically fear and fight or flight, that part of the brain, when it gets some kind of resistance, something goes on, it immediately wants to go to safety, or it wants to fight. But the safety part of it is basically, oh, I better stick to my job, or I better go out and get a job. And that idea that I have for selling the product, or that idea that I have for, you know, changing my community, or for, you know, basically working at a nonprofit, whatever it may be, it goes out the window. But here's one of the things, you know, I talked about this on the podcast. I've been thinking about this for like the last week, and I really wanted to hone in on just my own personal experience. That when I started out coming from absolutely nowhere, and I was investing in real estate, it was tough. I mean, it wasn't easy. I mean, it was a learning curve. It took me, you know, about 4 to 6 months to begin to get it and begin to make some money. Because I didn't know anything. I was stumbling. It was like learning to ride a bike. But the point is that I had a purpose higher than me. At the time, that purpose for me was, I want to be independent. I don't want to have to rely on my parents or a boss or, any of that. I want to be independent. I want to, be able to show the then, the woman that I loved then at the time, my girlfriend, now my wife, that I could be independent, that I could be a real man and actually earn a living and, create stuff. And so I had a lot of different motivations, but the point is that I had a purpose higher than myself. And I found that as that purpose evolved, particularly, let's say, at the beginning of last year when I started my information business and teaching people how to invest in real estate. And then from there, started this webinar course and have been speaking to the most amazing people the last week. My passion really evolved about a year ago, which was, I looked at my unique ability, which is basically telling stories and teaching, and I wanted to share that with as many people that would want to listen. To help them, that were interested in empowering their life. And I wanted to make a whole entire career around that. And so I began to share my gifts with people, and some people love it, and some people are willing to pay for it. Other people don't see the value in it and don't pay for it, and that's fine. The point is that that's my purpose. That's my purpose is, as I said many times, have 1 million new entrepreneurs, raise up a new class of entrepreneurs. And I think when we have a higher purpose, it helps not give up when things get tough. And this isn't just business related. This could be all different kinds of things. For the cancer patient who, the difference between a cancer patient who fights and that person who gives up and says, I can't beat this disease, and they end up dying. It happens with so many things in life. And, quitting can definitely be the best thing that we've ever done in our life. It could also be one of the worst things because, my business partner and friend, Richard, tells me that, told me this incredible quote. I forgot it. I need to ask him for it. But he was telling me, statistically, most people actually give up before they actually reach that end result that they were looking for. In the most tried and true story of this is obviously the book, maybe not obvious to some, is the book called Acre of Diamonds. And it's a story about a miner, I believe, and he was looking for diamonds, and he pretty much was looking for diamonds everywhere else, and it turns out that the diamonds were right underneath his feet, literally. But he kind of gave up. He never looked there. Or there's another story, I believe, in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, which I think is the better story that covers this point, which is the story of a guy who was a gold miner, and he got all the equipment. He moved. He came from the East Coast down to California during the gold rush, and he spends his money and he's gold mining, and he gets a little bit of gold. He finds some stuff. Eventually, he gives up though. And he sells his lot or his tract wherever he was doing his gold mining to somebody else. And they come in and they look at everything and they bring in an expert that was an expert geologist and looked at everything. And they found out that the big vein of gold, it was gold or silver, was literally feet away from where the guy before had been digging. But that guy gave up. And when our brains, go back to that reptilian part of our brain, when this starts to live in fear, instead of our vision and our vision for the future and for the possibility of things that are like this, that are all around us, it goes like this, and it becomes tunnel vision. And so we block out all these opportunities. And I'll tell you, for me, one of the things that's really worked is when I'm challenged with something, a lot of times I try to get out of my head and I try to offer it up to basically my higher power. In my case, it's God and Jesus Christ. But it could be, for you, it could be Buddha, Allah, whatever, your cat, the waves, whatever makes your kid's heart beat. It could be whatever your higher power is. I basically give it up to my higher power. And I say, listen, help me with this. Help me figure this out. And, I find that really, really works because I know that if I'm dedicated to my purpose, and I know my purpose, I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, it makes quitting in my life almost impossible because I'm so charged for that day. One of the things that kind of sucks with me helping entrepreneurs and teaching entrepreneurs is seeing the people that end up quitting. And it's inevitable that you see that when you have a business like this. But it's not just that. I see people in my life that have quit on their life, that have basically gotten so comfortable with things that they don't expand themselves, they're not reaching for more. Anyways, I don't want to ramble and go on forever, but I hope this video has been informative to you on why people quit and why quitting can sometimes be the best thing